So when you are trying to develop a marketing plan or a marketing strategy, one of the things that may make it easier for you to decide what tools and what message to use is to understand your audience more clearly. And one of the tools that we give you to be able to develop this audience structure, to be able to understand who you're talking to, is to develop a persona. So the way that a persona works is that you think about the audiences that you're talking to, the different audiences that you potentially could talk to about your cause. Maybe it's existing donors, maybe it's potential new donors, maybe it's business supporters, maybe it's government and you want to do advocacy, or maybe it's some other audience that you're targeting for your cause. What I encourage you to do is think about that person or think about that audience not as a whole group of people, which can be really hard to understand sometimes, but to think about them as an individual. So think about Joe or John or Jane or Sarah. You essentially create this profile of an individual person that you're trying to talk to. Because when you think about it, the way that most people consume advertising, consume media, or consume any of the tools that you might use in marketing is actually on an individual basis. They're going to think about it, they're going to be experiencing you on a one-on-one, so to speak. So even though that might be a television ad that's going out to thousands of people, really you want to think about it as that one person that you want to talk about. So let's take, for instance, an audience of maybe a potential donor. And you're starting to think about this potential donor to your cause and trying to figure out, is it a male or female? Is it a person with high levels of education? Is it someone who has high levels of capacity to give? We'll take all of those different characteristics and create a personal profile, the persona. So take, for example, one of the organizations that I worked for, Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona. This is an astronomical science research institution. So when you think about the potential donor for Lowell Observatory, you can probably guess a few things. Well, gender, they were mostly male. Education levels, very high. Income levels, pretty high too. Marital status, sometimes, mostly single. So when you think about all these different things that potentially could be in that whole audience, bring it down to an actual person. So let's call this person Adam. So we have Adam, who is an older male with an income level that's relatively high, who has a university degree, who is very much information driven. He likes to get additional information. He subscribes to newspapers, he subscribes to magazines about science, he watches science-related television programs, and he's online on websites and social media platforms that help feed his interest in astronomy and science. You see how now we have a better picture of who we might be able to talk to? So when you think about your marketing tools and communicating to your audience, I encourage you to think about that audience as a single person. Give them a name, give them a profile, and it becomes much more easy to communicate with them.